afternoon and welcome to America's Home Cooking. I'm on early today, I know, but I've been reading that it seems that people are having trouble. I have the original Fannie Farmer 1896 cookbook here, and there are a lot of people who get this book, and they're selling it again on Amazon, which caught my interest. And people were saying that it's a good historical book, but it doesn't give you temperatures to cook with, which I think is interesting because of the hunting camp. I learned this stuff, and because I listened to my grandparents, and I'm 70 something, so we're going 50s, we're going back, and my grandparents, they came across a wagon trail. Does that tell you that it's really that long ago? It wasn't that long ago. But here's a simple recipe that I'm just going to read to show you just part of it. It says, and you should recognize it, they call it a cottage cheese pie, but I want you to hear when I get down to the temperature. Cover bottom with a small greased baking dish with hot mashed potatoes. Add a thick layer of roast beef, chopped or cut in small pieces, seasoned with salt and pepper and a few drops of onion juice, and moisten with some of the gravy. Cover with a thin layer of mashed potatoes and bake in a hot oven long enough for it to heat. It does tell you what you have to do. I'll give you the oven temperature so you can actually know. But the thing is at the hunting camp, you'd have the burners down here. Well, it was wood burning, but I'm going to just give you a general idea. The oven, they usually had 2 ovens on the bottom, and they had 4 to 6 burners on top. But then they'd have the back, and then up on top, they would have a tray up there, actually. And what they had up there was actually where they would keep to let their milk become, they could make their yogurt, they could make their buttermilk, sour cream and stuff, or they wanted to keep the plates hot. They would put them up there because the heat would come up. Now, the stoves go correctly to the ground nowadays, but in the olden days, they had a big clearance like that because it was fire. They didn't want anything to get burnt. So this to keep the floors from catching fire. But what people would do is when children would come in and have wet shoes, they would slide them on a piece of wood. I don't know how they did it, but it was like a little thing. They put their shoes there on the side, and they would slide it underneath the oven because the oven would be going all day. The oven would actually heat the whole house, though. That's how it was at that time. And the next day, the shoes would be dry for the children so they could go to school. Now, I'm going to give you the oven temperatures, though, because in 1896, they used hot, moderate, slow. They gave you all these different words, but you didn't know. But in the 1950s, Betty Crocker put out a cookbook. I have old cookbooks. You ought to see some of the cookbooks I have. All right, but these are oven temperatures to help you to understand the terminology when you go to read these old cookbooks, okay? If they say a slow oven, that is 250 to 300 degrees. But if you do a slow moderate oven, that is 325. A moderate, just plain moderate oven is a 350. That's why sometimes I use the term and I sit there and say moderate oven, so you sort of get accustomed to it. Now, a quick moderate is 375. A moderate hot is 400. But hot is from 425 to 450 degrees. Very hot is 475 to 500 degrees. So they actually do give it to you. You just, oh, hi. Can you stop, please? I want to ask you a question. Sure. Cookbooks can really date back a long time. Yes, they can. Hey, can you please stop real quick? Okay, T, what do you want? Yes, the cookbooks do go like that. So those are oven temperatures. In the 50s, they changed it from here. Now, Fannie Farmer was famous. Before she came along, everything was done in milligrams and grams. 17 BC, I'm not sure. They have some that go all the way back. Have you ever made hardtack? You mean hard rock candy? Is that what you're asking? I'm not sure. But anyway, as the cookbooks go back, but Fannie was the one who changed America into using measuring cups and pounds we use like 2.5 cups of flour instead of saying it in pounds or grams and stuff. She was the one that transferred it all over to the way we cook today in our measurements, which is different. And the reason they did this was just another way of breaking away and saying America is free. Anything that dealt with like a bonding to England, they were breaking it one way or another. Hardtack, I think you're talking about hard rock candy and non-hangs. Can you give a recipe? I'm not sure what you're asking for, so you have to explain it a little more. But anyway, they've got recipes on the walls from the Egyptians. China has a lot of oat. I've got some books on history as it is right now, and there's a lot more. And I just ordered another one. I should shoot myself sometimes. But I wanted to explain that Fanny Farmer was the one who changed our measurements, and Betty Crocker was the one who sat there and explained hot and the different kinds of ovens that actually put it into temperatures so you can sit there and understand what these old cookbooks mean. Oh God. Healthy military diet? That's difficult because Uncle makes you run all over the place. But if you're very active, you definitely need to have, I always tell anybody on a diet, count your proteins. Your calories will go in check. Try to stay away from, I know in the military, when you're in war and combat, I know the military knows you need to keep the energy going. So they're very quick to give you a lot of sugar to keep you going because you can't sometimes sleep. Like my husband said, we'd have to go 2 or 3 days without sleeping because we were in a combat situation. So that would be very hard for me to give you an idea there. No, because you need the starch. The protein will keep your muscles and everything strong, all right? Your vegetables have your vitamins and minerals and a lot of that in there. But you're going to need a starch to keep you going. Sugar is a quick pick-me-up. It's like if you have coffee and sugar in the morning, you get that speed right away and you take off because that's the sugar in it. But when you have a starch, you don't have that speed right away. First thing you do is after you eat, you get very relaxed, almost ready to go to sleep. And then that sugar starts, the carbohydrates start breaking down. Carbohydrates are a sugar, except it's a long-term sugar. It's not a short sprint when you have a carbohydrate. And all of a sudden you start waking up and you have the energy and you can go for a long time. This is why Uncle knows that he can't feed you in a combat situation. So he has to sit there and make sure you keep going. So this is why he makes sure you have candy bars and things to keep that sugar going. And when he does serve, he makes sure you have a high protein and starch because he's got to keep your body going. There's no way to stop it. A lot of sugar will slow you down. I understand that. I've seen it. The soldiers, this is why you get heavy. It's not from the protein count, but it's all the sugar that you have. If you have a lot of carbohydrates and you have a lot of candy bars and you have a lot of sodas, you've already, in one meal, you have killed your calorie count. What you've got to think about is your protein, and that you've got to think of your carbohydrates because you men really go through a lot. And then you start thinking of your fruits and vegetables in that aspect. So I can understand why they feed you that way. But if you're trying to lose weight, you've got to come off the sugar. That means the sodas, the sugar in the coffee, the candy bars, the desserts, all the things that we all just love to have. We know better. I am guilty of it as much as the next person. Desserts are very nice. So these you have to pull away from. But when you're in the combat zone, I mean, what do they call it? The theater of war. You need that instant sugar. You need those candy bars to keep you going and running because you don't have time to prepare a meal and sit down and set the table while everyone's blowing everybody else up. And you say, I'm going to have a nice dinner tonight, and we're going to have a nice talk and cognac. You can't do that. So you're going to have to eat that way. But mostly sugar is your problem if you're worried about weight. I am doing very well. Okay. If you're going into the military, they'll check you. When you go into the military, they will feed you. Believe you me, they don't want you to starve. think of your protein in that aspect, but they're going to have to, you have to go through a physical. You might have a heart condition that you don't know about, or you might have this condition or something. I know that during my time, because of Vietnam and the Korean War, because I'm a Korean baby, at that time they were very special. If you had one medical problem, they would not allow you in, but now they do. But it just depends upon your medical problems. If there is one, they're going to find it because they're going to draw bloods and everything. So you head out, but you don't know what they're going to do to you. What they put my husband through, some of the things he talked about, I went, ooh. My family too. I come from a line of them. My father was in the Korean War. Yeah. Now my grandfather Nanu was in Italy, and the government told him to pick up a gun and go. You're going to fight some enemies. Nanu, which means grandfather in Piedmontese, he told them, "Give me a gun and let me shoot my neighbor. They're not bothering me. My neighbor's bothering me. Give me permission, I'll shoot my neighbor," because he had a problem with his neighbor. Because my grandfather believed you only deal with the person you're having a problem with. If they're the problem, get rid of the problem. That was my grandfather. So he came to America. But I do know what you're talking about. I have a line that goes there too. Hello, Slow Cap Asmar. I think I said that right. And by the way, to the person who gave me poutine dish, I looked it up. I will try it. I looked up the dish, and it sounds like a very interesting dish that I would like to try. So thank you for sharing it with me. I did not know about it. I don't know everything. I have to put my glasses on every time you guys tap so I can see. Yeah, there's a lot of history that goes there into those things. I'm sorry I couldn't give you more about the military, but I know the military feeds you very, very well. But I know in the theater of war, you cannot eat well, and they will make sure you go out with candy bars and stuff to make sure they keep that sugar going, because sometimes you have to run for miles and for days if you have somebody on your case. I should say on your tail who wants you dead. Yeah. Okay. Well, I learned that from my father talking. And and my brother went in. I lost some friends that I had grown up with. They never came back. One came back and he was not the same when he came back. So a war is very traumatic for people, and I do know that. But I did do a live today because I did want to explain terminologies in cooking that they do tell you, it's just you don't know it. I shall. Thank you very much. Hi, Cody. So anyway, so when you get these old cookbooks, I should show you some of the old recipes I have. Hold on, I'll be right. Give me 1 minute. These are just some books. Now I have this is our first cookbook. Look how thin that thing is. This is from Amelia Simmons. And she doesn't give temperatures either. She just says high or low. So you sort of, are medium or something. So you have to know those terms. That's why I did the oven, to help you to understand that. This is tasting history. I got this book a while back. And they go back to the 4th century, 1st century. They go back, they go way back. And some of these dishes, 160 BC, and I want to try 700 BC, and I think these will be interesting to try. I said hi, Cody. I saw you. So this is another book that I'm in, and I got another historical book coming in about foods and stuff. And I have another one which is really, where did I put that one? Oh, I think I got another one that's weird too. This one's called Ancient Roman Cooking. And they do it the same way. When you sit there, they assume that you already know the heats when you cook. They just sit there, and theirs are very, sometimes their recipes really drive me crazy. Like this one just says fresh fava beans, leeks, fresh herbs, cilantro, oregano, mallow flowers, spices, black pepper, lovage, fennel seeds, garum, white wine, and extra virgin olive oil. And you have to figure out everything they're saying, and you just pull your hair out because you're not sure what they want you to do. So these are old recipes, but they're fun to sit there and try to work through. This is why you had to know those temperatures of the ovens to understand this book. But this one, you have to understand that when you go into these ancient cookings, you have to realize the flour and the flour that they used at that time. So you have to know your whole grains and where they come from. So if you're going to sit there and make something from this area or this country during this time, you have to understand that they were using these kinds of grains, and this is how you can mimic or actually reproduce these dishes instead of changing them around. And people don't realize that, but that's a lot that goes in. And there is a big history in food, like there is a history in war, there's a history in our clothing, there's a history in a lot of things. So that was basically what this was for. It wasn't so much as a visiting, but was to explain to you that yes, Fanny Farmer does use terminologies you might not know. This is where you have to learn the old way of cooking. I've had to learn the old way of cooking by many people, by my grandmother. My grandfather would talk about certain things because he did it when my father went camping and he was cooking. I had to learn how to work on a wood burning stove with my mother. And then when she had self, oh, she loves self cleaning ovens, and so do I. They make my job so much easier. But the thing is you can see how the stoves have changed. Like we used to have a pilot light. Uh, I mean, it was really low. What you call simmer, we even went lower in the stoves that I knew. We had a pilot light that sat in the middle. And even before you had and that pilot light, they could make yogurt on the stove because they took that top shelf off the ovens and moved them further down and compacted them. But then they took the pilot light away so women couldn't make yogurt, so the businesses could sit there and sell you the yogurt. So then we lost the skill of making yogurt. You see how they do it? Sour cream. They had the shelf up there and women could make their sour cream. Now you can't make the sour cream. You have to go a different way of making the sour cream. But this is how they've compacted our stoves now to where we can't do a lot of the things, so you have to buy a lot of things. So if you want to make yogurt, they say you have to buy a yogurt maker. So if you want to make sour cream, you have to do this. And what they're doing is just spreading it out to where you have to buy a lot more things. The stoves were much better then because there wasn't anything we couldn't make because we did have those heavy duty stoves that we could even dry our shoes on underneath it. We sat there and we had the ovens they were heavy and they cooked. You sat there and had 6 burners. You had that shelf so you could do other things. If you were rising yeast, that was a good place to put it. They also had other things around, but it was harder because you didn't have the self-cleaning oven, so it was a lot of work that you had to clean it, which made it difficult. That was the one thing that was really the downfall. I think women hate cleaning ovens. I know I do. So it's very difficult, but having a self-cleaning oven is really handy and it takes a lot of weight off them. But the thing is that we've also lost other things when a stove did so much for us before. So things sort of balance out like that, and we sort of have to work with it. But that's basically what's happening is the terminology of cooking has disappeared. The ways we've done things have disappeared. And then people will make, like I have 2 pastas. I have a manual pasta machine and I have an electric one. You can use the electric one, so you really don't have to do it, but when you do it by hand, it's different. All of this is to make things convenient, but it also takes away from us being creative as women. Just like now you buy furniture and woodworking isn't a top thing for boys to learn how to work. Like if things needed to be fixed, there used to be rewiring. You can't do that anymore. So all these skills and stuff, just like I'm talking about that happen in the kitchen, are happening in our appliances and things that we have. We just throw them out instead of holding on to them. But anyway, I think everybody's tired of hearing me run my mouth. It was mostly just to show you that, yes, Fanny's 1896 does show you how to cook. The only thing is that you were missing the terminologies of the temperatures of a hot oven to a moderate oven to a low or a high moderate. So that was the problem. And I have it in one of my Betty Crocker books, which is literally falling apart. The pages come right out of this book. This is how old this book is. It just falls apart. But I won't get rid of it because there's history in this, and I do keep up with it very, very much. But when I was reading that people said it's only Fanny's is only historically, there's nothing in there that can really they don't tell you how the temperatures are there. It's just you didn't know how to read them. That's all. And I don't mind sharing that knowledge with you. So that's why I'm very versatile in the kitchen. Like my mother said, you're going to listen or get whipped. I listened. I didn't want her to whip me. Okay, so do you have any questions? You're quiet. There's nothing you want to know? Oh my goodness. Well, I'll give you a minute, and if nobody says anything, I will be saying bye-bye. Okay. It hits 23 minutes. If nobody talks, I'll just go. Mm. 20 seconds, I'll be saying bye-bye. For you that just came on, if you don't have any questions, then I'm just going to go. I put this on because I wanted to explain something to people. So listen, all of you take care and have a great day. Okay? So I'll see you another time. Bye-bye.